Well, hi there, guys. It's just me. You're stuck with me trying to teach you the lesson today. Okay, I've never done this before, so you are going to have to give me some grace. If I talk too fast, I do apologize. Or if I get excited and start covering stuff and you need me to slow down, you all just got to send me a note and say, Miss Moore, you got to slow down. Okay, today, we are going to go into the wonderful world of counting atoms. And guys, I'm not going to lie, I love this stuff. This is probably my favorite thing that we do all year. I just love counting the atoms and everything. You are going to need to know this when you get into physical science and when you get to high school chemistry. And because um, when you get to high school chemistry, you need this background. We want to introduce this to you early. Okay, on Thursday, for your bell ringer, there is one that I know some of you that have gone ahead are really struggling knowing what that definition is. It's actually a chemical formula. This is a chemical formula for water. So that simply means the symbols that make up a chemical substance. In this instance, it is water. So the chemical formula for water is H2O. Okay, so it's a combination of chemical symbols that show, again, remember I'm a rookie, what elements make up a chemical compound. And then how many atoms of each element. So if we look at this, we know that the H stands for hydrogen. If there is a number after it, that tells you how many atoms of hydrogen we want. So that means that we've got 2 hydrogen. And remember when we did the PhET lab, you guys are putting all the things together and building those compounds? That's exactly what this is doing. Okay, there is no number after the oxygen. That is what we call an understood 1. So that means that there is going to be 1 atom of oxygen. These are hydrogen. You guys should try to do this sometime. It is not easy. Okay? And we have a total of 1, 2, 3 atoms in the formula H2O, which is the chemical formula for water. All right. And if you guys look at your notes, and you might want to see if you can do your notes while I'm talking, this will make a lot more sense. So remember that if there's not a number after the letter, that it's an understood 1. Okay. There's a lot of rules for counting atoms. The most important rule of all is knowing what symbols stand for what elements. So you guys are looking for capital letters. When you see a capital letter, that means that it is a new element. So if you have S, C, H, and this is not real, I'm just making something up, this is a chemical formula. We have 3 different elements because each of them are capital. If there is a lowercase, such as Na, and it's a lowercase a, like that. The A goes with the N. That is one element. Okay, I hope that makes sense to you guys. So in this, you've got Li, so you've got lithium, Cl, and this is really important, guys. I do want to tell you this. When you see the letter like that, that means a lowercase l. If it's going to have an I, it will look like this. That's an I, this is an L. Okay? This is probably one of the biggest things that kids get mixed up on. The letter I will always have the bars on top. That's lowercase. So that would be CL3. I hope that makes sense, because that's the most important thing, is you have to know what elements are in the formula. And you have to remember, we're looking for capital letters, which means it's an element. We also have numbers that are down here and right here. That's what we call a subscript. And it's a number that comes after a symbol and below. And I want to make a star right here because it's very important. The subscript only affects the element it comes after. Only that one. So if I have Li2, I am only going to worry about the 2 with the Li. So I'm going to have 2 atoms of lithium. If I have Cl3, that tells me there's going to be 3 atoms of chlorine. Okay, if we look at the next one, we have Na2SO4. So here's your subscript. It's 2. It comes before the Na. Remember, the A goes with the N. So Na2, there's 2 sodium, because Na means sodium, 2 sodium atoms. There's no subscript after the S. And there's a capital letter here. So I'm going to do this. You have, this is one element. This is an element. And this is an element. Okay? No lowercase letter, capital letter. That means that it's going to be a different element for those things. So you're going to have 2 sodium. There is no number after the S. That is sulfur. So that's an understood 1. So there's only 1 sulfur and 4 oxygen. I hope I'm not losing you guys yet. Okay, before I talk about brackets and coefficients, I want to try and do a practice one. And I'm going to sorry, a little bit of format going on here. Okay, so I'm looking at this. Here is our formula for glucose. And I bet you guys did not know that glucose is nothing but sugar. So all that white stuff that you put in your tea for your sweet tea and what you put on your cereal is actually glucose. It simply means sugar. Okay, so we have to look, we have to see what elements are in this formula. Well, I have 3 capital letters. So that means that I have got carbon. I've got an H. That means hydrogen. And I've got a capital O. So I've got oxygen. C6H12O6. You're going to want to remember that when we get into ecosystems. So now we want to know how many atoms do we have for each one. There's a 6 after the carbon. The 6 goes with the letter in front of it. So there are 6. Then there's a 12. It goes in front. It goes with the letter in front of it. So it goes with the hydrogen. 12. There's a 6 after the O. So that goes with the O. 6. So if you want to know, and you're going to have to know this, how many total atoms are there? Very easy. You simply add them together. So 6 plus 12 plus 6 equals 24. I did it real easy. I said 6 plus 6 is 12. 12 plus 12 is 24. Guys, it's really that easy. Now, this is an easy one because there's no brackets and no coefficients or anything. If you watched the 2.5, 3-minute video on how to count atoms first, this should not be a problem at all for you. You should know exactly what to do. Okay, let's do another one. This is if you have an upset stomach from drinking too much coffee, like I generally do. This is an antacid, CaCO3. All right, what are the elements? Remember, we're looking for capital letters. Okay, I've got a C. Oh, but there's a lowercase after it. Remember, that means that they go together. And then I've got some carbon and I've got oxygen. So I have 3 different elements. I have Ca, which is for calcium. I have a regular C, which is carbon. And I have an O, which we all know is oxygen. So how many do we have? Well, Ca, is there a subscript behind it? Let's erase this so I can show you guys. Okay. Is there a subscript after the Ca? No. So that is understood that there is only one atom. If it's in the formula and there's nothing after it, it simply means one atom. So there's one atom. Well, this does not want to work for me now. There we go. One atom. And then there's one atom of carbon. I'm not quite sure why this isn't working now. Fine. One. And then oxygen, there's a subscript of 3. So there are 3. So there's a total of 5. Total of 5 atoms altogether. Okay. Let's go back up so you guys can see the rest of the rules. This is where things get a little bit complicated when you talk about the brackets. Okay. This is where all the parts are listed. So we have the elements. Remember, we're looking for capital letters. These are the subscripts. And of course, we have the brackets. Now, if you guys remember in math, brackets for order of operations, that means that you're going to do all of those things together. So the PO4 subscript 2 are all together. This is a coefficient. If the coefficient is in front like this, that means that you're going to multiply everything. Whoops. You're going to multiply everything in that formula by that coefficient. Okay. So let's talk about brackets. A subscript outside a bracket affects all the elements inside the bracket. You're simply going to multiply. For instance, you have AL parenthesis SO4 parenthesis subscript 3. Okay, if you look, the Al or the aluminum is outside of the parentheses, so it does not get involved with this subscript. I usually start with what's in the parentheses first. I know that I have sulfur. There's no coefficient after it, so there is 1 times 3 on the outside. So I have a total of 3 sulfur atoms. I have 4 oxygen atoms times 3. So 4 times 3 is 12 oxygen. And the aluminum is standing by itself, no subscript, so it simply means you have 1 aluminum. So remember, there's 3 of everything in the brackets. In the brackets. A coefficient is the full size number that is in front of the entire chemical formula. And it multiplies everything in the formula. So if you have 2 Na2SO4, this 2 is going to multiply everything. It's going to go to the sodium, it's going to go to the sulfur, and it's going to go to the oxygen, just like that. So 2Na. Well, we also have a subscript here. So how many sodium do you have to start with? 2 times 2. So you're going to have 4 sodium. You have the sulfur, there's only 1. So 1 times 2. So there's only going to be 2 sulfur. You have a subscript of 4 oxygen. And you've got 2. That should be 8. So it should be 8 oxygen because you've got the coefficient 2 times the 4. So you should have 8 oxygen. If you look at it again, 2Al SO4 3. Okay, it gets tricky now because you've got this little booger outside the parentheses or the brackets. So it is going to multiply everything in the bracket. So you've got 2 aluminum. 2 times 1, so you have 2. You have 1 sulfur times 3. 1 times 3. Oh, that's pitiful. Times 2, which is the coefficient. Remember, this is your coefficient. So you get 6. The oxygen, you had 4, and you had to multiply it by 3 because that was the subscript. So you got 12. And you have to multiply by that coefficient. So times 2 equals 24. And then you just add them up. It's that easy. Okay. You guys want to give it a shot? Let's try. We have a coefficient, we have brackets, we have subscripts. Here we go. So for lead nitrate, first thing you have to do is list your elements. We have Pb. Notice lowercase b. That means it goes together. That actually stands for lead. And then we've got N. Anybody remember what N stands for? Nitrogen. And then we've got oxygen. Okay. Here we go. This is going to be a little more difficult because you've got a lot of stuff. Okay, we've got this coefficient in front of the PB. That means that you're going to multiply the 2 by the number of lead elements already there. So how many are there? You have 1. Understood? 1. I don't know, my thing is not. I'm not able to type. Okay, so you've got 1 times 2. Okay, so how many do you equal? There's 2. All right, here we go. We've got the brackets. How many nitrogen do we start off with? Remember, no subscript means there's only 1. If the letter stands alone, you count that letter as 1. So you've got 1. But I've got this subscript outside. So I'm going to multiply that by the subscript. And I'm going to get 2. But hold on, I'm not done yet. I still have to multiply it by the coefficient. So times 2. So there's actually 4 atoms of nitrogen in lead nitrate. When you go to the oxygen, how many do you start off with? 3. This means that you multiply by everything inside the bracket. So times 2, that gives me 6. But I have to multiply it also by this coefficient. So times 2 equals 12. And then all I have to do is add it up. 12 and 4, 16 and 2, 18. So there's a total number of 18 atoms. Okay, on your notes page, I have given you 1, 2, 3, 4 examples that I want you to do. If you are confused on how to do these, go back and read all of the note pages here. Okay, we've got everything for you here. We've written rules for counting atoms, looking for what symbol. What does the subscript mean? What do the brackets mean? What do the coefficients mean? And I know I've kind of made this a mess. Okay, and we've done examples together. So this should be a breeze. If you're still confused, go back to the PowerPoint or the Google Slides, and it has the rules on there. Or go back and watch that quick little video, because that's a really good resource, and she really made it very easy to understand. And if you still don't get it, come over to my room and I will explain it to you one-on-one. All right, guys, good luck.